All right, hello and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about why little steps are going to lead to massive transformations in your life. Why taking little, tiny, seemingly insignificant little steps towards where you want to go is going to get you to where you want to go so much faster than trying to rush there with big radical steps and doing big radical things, and why attempting to get where we want to go with big radical steps and big radical things oftentimes backfires and keeps us stuck and stagnant exactly where we are. And with that, usually making us feel like we're failing or we're doing something wrong or we don't have enough willpower or we're not good enough. And then this leads to us being more and more susceptible to buying into, spiritual teachers and self-help gurus and all of these people who tell us you got to go harder, you got to do more intense things, you fell off the wagon, you didn't do the right thing, and that is a flaw in you. So now here's this next thing that you need to do that's super intense, that's going to take you where you want to go. And we just start this cycle of continually doing these huge steps, not being able to sustain and maintain it, thinking that there's something wrong with us, that we fall back into our old routines, being looped into a new program or a new thing, and this just happening over and over and over again. And then we do this for months or even years, and we look at ourselves and we think, man, okay, I've been trying so hard to make progress and make change and get to this new place, and I've done so many things and I've done so many radical things, and I still feel like I'm in the same place. And I want to talk today about why that happens, like the exact reason why that happens, why that is normal, why that is how our bodies work, and again, how we can readjust ourselves to understanding that taking slow, methodical steps is actually going to get us where we want to go. Period, end of story. That it's going to get us there, and that it will get us there so much faster than fast steps. And this is one of the main things this is one of the main reasons why I suggest people join the mystery school, because transformation is really hard, and changing the way that we do things, changing the ways that we react and respond in relationships, changing the ways we see ourselves and the ways we react and respond to ourselves, changing our patterns, okay? So like changing the ways that we interact with our bodies, changing the ways that we think our thoughts, changing the way that we react and respond to our emotions. This is all stuff that is very, very challenging to do. And I don't think that we talk about enough the fact that this is so challenging, okay? I know in the self-help, spirituality, personal growth world, a lot of teachers make it sound like you should be able to just know that you want something different, or suffer enough in your current way of being, or that you should be able to just have enough inspiration and understanding and wisdom that you can just change yourself and stop hurting yourself and stop being addicted to certain things and blah, 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 and that change is easy. And when you're motivated, or when you're doing it right, or when you have the right protocol. And I think the reality is that this is simply not true. Change is incredibly difficult. When we are talking about anything that is a pattern that we've been in for a while, okay? And so, like I said, this is one of the reasons why I highly suggest that people join the mystery school, because with the mystery school, you get a community support. And part of that community support is reminding us that this is what the group is for, that this work of transformation is all about time. It's all about little steps taken over time. And I feel like so much of the time we can feel incredibly discouraged and like we're not doing the right thing and we're not making the progress we want to be making when we commit to doing small steps and when we commit to doing small things. And it's going to look like other people are racing past us and doing all these huge things and changing their lives, and like we must be missing something, that we're not doing that, and that we must be missing something when we're not observing radical transformation in our lives. Like when we're not seeing, like, I can love myself now, or I can stand up for myself in my relationships now, or I can just stop doing all these unhealthy eating habits and I can just have a great diet now. And it can feel like we are missing something and we're doing something wrong when the changes are really slow and even kind of imperceptible sometimes. And like I said, this is why I say join the mystery school, because we are here to remind you that slow steps work and that you're not making progress, and that, and of course, like within the curriculum, there's just like a ton of repetition of a lot of these concepts and tools, because changing our habits is about habitually taking small little steps forward. And again, I'm going to explain why this is so important to understand right now. But like I said, if this is something that calls to you, if you are starting to really understand that, yeah, okay, small steps are the way, small incremental movements are the path. If this is starting to call to you, if you're starting to understand that this makes a lot more sense than all the radical things that everyone else in the spirituality and self-help world is selling, then the mystery school might be a really good place for you, because again, it's set up for people who are ready to do the long-term work. It's not a quick fix program. It's not change your life in 30 days. It's really getting to the root of why you do what you do, why you are who you are. And it's getting to the root of how systems in society are set up and why that has such a huge impact on us, and how we can start to create real, true change through these little micro steps, first on the inside, first with how we interact with ourselves, first through how we kind of process our childhood and process our inner children and get to know our emotions and learn how to process our emotions and that whole inner game. And then it walks you through how to understand this on a societal level so that you can make like real, actual positive changes to your life that aren't just pipe dream stuff, that aren't just like, I'm gonna, get rid of all my self-sabotage and all my coping, but live the same life that I'm living now. I'll just do it successfully. That you'll start to be able to understand why that's generally not going to be how it goes, that you're going to have to figure out why you can't live the life you're trying to live right now successfully, and what you actually need and who you actually are and what your needs actually are. And that is what the school is there to teach you, but it's slow. It's very slow and it's very methodical, and sometimes, again, we just need that support and that reminder of a community around us being like, it's okay, you're doing the right thing. Changes are going to happen as you do this slow work. So that's all I want to say there, is that the school is all set up around this concept right here, that little tiny steps take us the furthest, the fastest. And everything else is going to stagnate us, because that's how our nervous systems work. Okay, so why does trying to take huge steps towards radically changing our lives almost always end in a backfire? Why does it almost always end in us falling way off track, going back to what we were doing before, no matter how much progress we've made, no matter how much change or success we see in the short term? Why do we always fall back to what we were doing before? Why do we feel like we're just like constantly not able to have the willpower to maintain these big changes and to maintain these big things? The main reason is because our nervous systems are going to fight change at every turn. And we need to really make friends with the fact that our bodies and our brains have inherited genetics, that have inherited patterns, that have made it so that what our body perceives as being safety is what we have always done. When we can understand that, when we can understand our bodies and our brains are always going to seek homeostasis, they are always going to prefer what is familiar, what is predictable, what we have always done, what we have done for a very long time. Our bodies and our brains are always going to go for what our current patterns are. Because as we were evolving, the reason this is the way that this is, as we were evolving as a human species, the humans that were able to establish homeostasis, a predictable environment that they could predict, that they could take predictable actions within, and they could predict the outcomes, were the ones that survived. The ones that were constantly sprinting off into the unknown and doing totally different things and changing things up, or that were in conditions that were constantly changing, were the ones who were most likely to die and therefore not pass on their genetics. We inherited very naturally and very honestly a fear of the unknown and a desire to be in what is predictable. No matter how harmful or hurtful or dysfunctional predicted circumstances are, no matter how, chaotic our patterns may be in real reality, our bodies and our brains have evolved to repeat patterns. Because, again, that is how our ancestors survived the best. When we can predict our environment, when we can do the same things over and over and over again and expect the same results over and over and over again, we have a much higher likelihood of being able to get our needs met, stay safe, and survive. Okay? Pattern and homeostasis are what our brains and our bodies are always, always, always going to prioritize and choose. Change is not something our bodies or our brains naturally want to do. Change is not something our bodies and our brains naturally want to do. They are going to resist change. Okay? And that is because our brains and our bodies are trying to keep us alive. To our brains and to our bodies, same equals safe. Doing what I've always done, repeating my habits, repeating my patterns. I know what that means. I know what that's going to look like. I know how to meet my needs within that. I know what is going to happen. Okay? That's how our bodies and our brains interpret reality. So even when and if the changes we're attempting to make are pragmatically, within real reality, going to get us better results, even if the changes we're going to make lead to an environment that's objectively better by all metrics, we're safer, we're happier, we're healthier, the body and the brain are still going to have fear about that, resistance to that, and there's going to be a ping back, usually, of fear and dread and not trusting the new environment, even when the new environment is very pleasant. And there will even be times and places where we might even perceive threat and perceive that we are not safe, even when we are. Because, again, our bodies and our brains are trying to keep us in that same state. Until we are able to change for long enough and in a way where we can be present, where we can actually show the brain and the body that we are in a new place and that this new place is trustworthy. that we can do a habit over and over and over and over enough that we can prove that it works better than the old habit, until we are able to show our bodies that something new is safer or works better enough times that the body can actually perceive it, we are going to have the temptation to go back to doing what we were doing before. No matter how good the new thing is, the brain and the body is going to try to pull us back into what we were doing before, into what our habits was. Okay? Until the new thing, we can prove to ourselves, to our bodies, through experiencing it over and over and over and over and over again, that it works better and that it is better. This is why almost all of us attempt to make change in our lives. And no matter how successful we are at white-knuckling our way into doing something different, no matter how successful we are at creating objectively better conditions for ourselves, in creating better thought patterns, better relationship patterns, new ways of interacting with our money, new ways of interacting with the world around us that just are objectively better, there's gonna be a part of us that wants to pull us back into doing what we were doing before, that wants to take us into those old habits, no matter how harmful or objectively worse they are in terms of outcome than the new thing we're doing. Because there is a part of our nervous system and a part of our body that still says, no, we have to do what we've always done. Same is safe. Different is threat. I don't know what this is. I can't predict it. I can't trust it. And I want to go back to doing what we were doing before, because what we were doing before, I understood. Okay? When we can understand this, we can stop beating ourselves up. This is, if you take nothing from this call, I hope this is what you take. Do not anymore beat yourself up for not being able to change your life the way you want to change your life. Do not beat yourself up for not being able to make radical transformation or to be able to change your life in some positive way that just seems logical and reasonable, like you should be able to do this, when you can't. That there's a part of you that continually pulls you back into your patterns. That is not because you are weak. That's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're flawed. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It is not because you have a bad part. It is not a bad part, okay? This part of you that pulls you back into your old habits, that pulls you back into your old ways of eating, that pulls you back into your old ways of interacting with people, that pulls you back into old relationship styles, and you continue to choose the partner that can't be available, or the toxic partner, or the friends that don't care about you, and you keep thinking, what is wrong with me that I can't change? What is wrong with me that I can't do this new thing? I know what I'm doing is bad for me. I know what I'm doing is causing chaos. I know it's not good. I can even see where I got these habits from and why I do it. And I still can't change. And we can just think, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. You inherited a body. You inherited a nervous system that is always going to prioritize and always going to fight for what is familiar. And especially when we are looking at changing habits that have been around for a very long time. Okay? So, number one, stop beating yourself up. There's nothing wrong with you. You're a human. You're a human who successfully evolved, and that is why you fear change. And that is why your body and your brain constantly pull you back into the old thing. Because it believes that is what is safety. Okay? That's the bottom line. It's trying to keep you safe by trying to keep you the same. And it will fight your logic, and it will override your logic. And it will feel like there are 2 or 3 or 4 different parts of you all warring at the same time. Okay? This is normal. You're going to have your intellect that's like, okay, new habits better, new thing good, let's do that. And then your body is going to be like, cool, no. And you're going to feel like your body gets possessed, or like you're there's some other entity that just like overrides your logic and overrides your thinking and forces you back into the old habits, and you're like, holy shit, how did this happen, and why did this happen, and why am I doing this, and what's wrong with me? And there's this bad self-sabotaging part that keeps sabotaging my efforts to move forward. And I'm saying it's not bad. It's not a bad part of you. It literally just thinks whatever you're doing is unfamiliar and that's unsafe, and so I'm going to pull you back into what we've always done. Okay? That's what's happening. The part of you that is trying to keep you safe is trying to keep you the same, and it is going to fight change at every step of the way. Even when you fully understand yourself, even when you're getting your needs met in new and different ways, it's going to fight you. Okay? That's normal, that's natural, and when we can expect it, we can actually work through it instead of being surprised and thinking something's going wrong and beating ourselves up and shaming ourselves and then getting into a spiral where we absolutely really can't change. Because once we get into shame and guilt and blaming ourselves and what's wrong with me and trying to get rid of this part, we really trigger ourselves. Okay, so here's the next part of this, is that when we are trying to change and when we are trying to do something different, the nervous system is already on high alert. It's already going to be trying to pull you back to what you've always done. It's already going to be looking for threat. It's already going to be activated. Okay? And then when we combine it with shame, guilt, and blame, why can't I do this? What's wrong with me that I'm not doing this? The old way is so bad, and it's shameful, and it's wrong, and it's harmful, and these are bad parts of me, and these self-sabotaging behaviors are just shameful and wrong and bad, right? Like when we get into feeling like we feel guilty and shitty about ourselves for our relationship habits, and we just think like, what's wrong with me that I'm addicted to these bad relationships, and why can't I respect myself and love myself enough to do what's good for me? Or we think that our ways of coping and numbing and self-sabotaging are eating or watching Netflix or whatever we do to cope and numb. We think these are disgusting bad habits, and this is bad and wrong and terrible about me, and I'm wasting my life, and I suck. When we start to get into that, no one's ever going to love me, right? I'm not worthy, I'm shitty, because these are the stories we usually tell ourselves when we fall into our negative habits. Is this is something terrible about me, this is shameful, this is bad, this is wrong, this is shitty, I am shitty. We start to trigger ourselves into this feeling of I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, I'm not okay the way that I am, which again is understandable, right? Like when our habits are causing harm and when we feel like what we're doing is fucking up our lives, it's very logical to us to say, this is bad, right? This is a bad part of me, this is a bad thing that I'm doing, and we shame ourselves and we guilt ourselves because we say like, I can't stay this way. If I stay this way, all these horrible things are going to happen. I'm going to be alone forever. No one's ever going to love me. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to never be able to live a life. Like all of these scary thoughts are going to be there. And we think that that's motivating. This is one of the most confusing human foibles, I think, that we need to work through on the self-love path. This is why in the mystery school, there's an entire section all on shame and guilt and why we need to be so on top of it and understand it and realize that it's wrong every time. Because shame and guilt and blame, we truly believe is motivating. Right? We all think the worse I feel about this thing, the more I beat myself up about it, the more I point out all the terrible results, the more I just prove to myself this thing is horrible and it's horrible about me and it's horrible and the results are horrible, blah, blah, blah. We think that's going to motivate us to change. We really do. And that's innocent. That makes sense, right? Like we have grown up in a culture of shame. We've grown up in a culture of blame. We've grown up in a world where we are punished for the bad things that we do, with punishment, with being rejected, with being denied the things we need and the things that we want, and with this idea of punishment being an effective strategy for reform. Right? We live in that world where it is common knowledge that, and I'm putting that in quotes because I don't believe that this is actually true, that punishment is an effective method of reform. Because we're not understanding that, again, the very first safety program every human being gets on this planet is, when I am loved, I am safe. In the temporary codependent reality of our childhoods, where we could not understand our needs and we could not meet our own needs, where we could not understand the world, the only understanding we had was that caregivers were the source of everything. And caregivers loving and paying attention to us was the one way of getting our needs met, was the one way of being protected, was the one way of being provided for, was the one way of being, rescued from anything that was painful. So we all have this nervous system program inside of us that says, when I'm being loved, when I'm being accepted, when I'm being fed this message that I'm good enough, I'm going to be safe. And when I'm being rejected, when I'm being denied, when I perceive I'm being rejected, when I perceive I'm being denied, we all have a nervous system reaction of, I am not safe, I am under threat, everything could fall apart right here, right now, I'm going to die, what do I need to do to figure out how to get back in acceptance and love and approval? In adult reality, this is not how reality actually works, right? In adult reality, we can be completely rejected and still get our needs met because we are autonomous now. But our nervous systems, for the most part, don't know that. Okay? Our nervous systems are still going to respond to rejection or the feeling of rejection as an emergency that is an existential threat to our survival. Pretty much every time, right? Everyone always asks me, like, I'm trying to love myself, so why do I keep thinking every time someone rejects me, like, why am I so afraid of rejection? Because your body believes that rejection equals death. Okay? That's the first program we all got. We probably will all have it until the day that we die. We learn how to work with it. The self-love path helps us to get into our adult perspective so that we can work with it, so that we can find our empowerment within it, and it feels less and less scary, but that trigger is probably always going to be there. Okay? So then when we are in a state of rejecting ourselves, when we are in a state of pointing out all of our flaws and looking at how bad we are and looking at how bad our habits are and feeling shame and feeling guilt and feeling blame, we are triggering ourselves into a state of feeling unsafe. We are triggering ourselves into feeling like we are in a state of threat. Life is not okay. I'm about to die. And what we need to understand is that when we are in a state of threat, when we are in a state of fear, we are going to do what we've always done. Our bodies are going to be even more committed to completing our patterns and to fighting off anything that might be different. Because again, the body perceives that we are in a survival threat. The body perceives, I'm being rejected, I'm not going to get my needs met, I'm going to die. And the best thing, again, for all of our ancestors who passed their genetics on to us, for survival when we were in a state of threat, was to hunker down and do what we've always done. When we're in a state of threat, when we're in a state of I'm not sure if I'm going to be okay, that is not a good time to venture into the unknown and do something different. That was the worst time to venture into the unknown and do something different. When we were actually physically not safe, the best thing to do was what we've always done. The thing that had worked up till now to keep us safe. Go back to that. So when we feel shame, guilt, and blame, and we think, I am motivating myself to change, we are not understanding our biology. Because when we feel shame, guilt, and blame, we feel, I am not good enough. I am wrong. I am bad. This is bad about me. Which triggers us into I am not going to be okay. I am not safe. I am now in a state of threat because I am being rejected. And then the nervous system says, no problem. I'll save you by spinning you back into your patterns so that you'll do exactly what you've always done, and that's going to save your life. So in those moments, you all of a sudden go back to being like you were as a child. And you think, what the heck is even happening? Right? You start acting in your relationships the way you acted towards your caregivers. You start falling back into all of your self-sabotage, coping, numbing behaviors. You go back into thinking the way that you've always thought. You go back into acting the way that you've always acted. And you think, what? I was trying to shame myself into change. I was trying to force myself to grow. I was trying so hard to show myself how bad these habits are. And it seems like every time I do that, it pushes me into them harder. It makes it even harder to change. And the more I try to change, the more it's like there's something inside of me that rebels to pull me back to what I've always done. Yeah. The part of you that went, oh God, not only did we try to change, that's scary, not good, don't do that. But we tried to change and it didn't work, so proof, I told you. That's what's happening on the inside. And then now you're yelling at me and telling me that I'm horrible and telling me that I don't deserve love and you're telling me that I'm shitty. So I'm super afraid, super under threat. And now I'm definitely going to just go back to doing what I've always done. Because you have just proven to me that we are deeply unsafe, that everything is falling apart, and therefore we just need to do what we've always done to try to return to homeostasis because that's the last place I felt safe. That's what happens when we try to make big radical changes. We force our nervous systems into a state of fear by taking ourselves so far away from our current homeostasis. That is naturally going to happen. The farther we stray from our current homeostasis, the more the nervous system, the brain, and the body are going to freak out. Right? So we do these 90-day challenges. We pack everything we've ever owned up and we move to a different country. We radically change our diet. We decide I'm never going to have a codependent relationship ever again. I'm going to speak my truth to the most degree and people can just fuck off. Right? We say we're going to do all this stuff. And we might be able to get ourselves to do it for a little while. Okay? We can white knuckle ourselves. We can use our willpower. We can override. We can take ourselves far away from what we usually done. And we're going to get radically different results when we do that. Because that's how reality works, right? When we radically change something in our way of being, we are going to get, for a while we can maintain that radical change, radical different results. That follows. That's normal. And we're going to think, see, it's working. I did it. I solved it. My whole life is better now. I have all these better relationships. I'm on point with my diet. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I left my job and now I'm free and all this stuff. And we're going to think, look at this. It totally works. Allie is wrong. Yeah? Radical changes all the way. Hell yeah. And then we're going to start to notice that it gets harder and harder and harder to maintain these changes. It just gets harder and harder. And every single day, we start to notice first that our perception didn't really change. Right? We're doing different things. But we still have those same thoughts. We still have that same mindset. We still have our same ways of viewing the world. So then when challenge arise or when things get weird and we can't just stick to our new routine, we can't just stick to the protocol, there isn't someone telling me exactly what to do in this moment, all the wheels fall off. We can't figure it out. We don't know what we're supposed to be doing. We just automatically go back into old behaviors. And we think, well, what the heck? What just happened? I was doing so good. Everything was fine. And then there was a little blip in the radar and I'm all of a sudden back where I used to be. Okay, no. Get back on track. So we get back on track. Yeah? And we can get back on track for a little while. And then again, the little blip happens. Something in reality changes. We can't stick to the program perfectly. And again, we can't recover. We just all of a sudden are back in what we were doing before. Okay? Or we complete the 90 days. We do the plant medicine ceremony. We come back home and we think, okay, I'm going to be a totally different person. We complete the diet. We complete the protocol. And then on the other side, we're like, okay, I can start to, have some of these old things again. I can start to do some of these old ways of being again. Or, the thing that we did wasn't sustainable. Like, we couldn't do it forever. We did a fast. We did, like I said, it's like some radical honesty thing that we did for 30 days or whatever. And it was extreme, and we made it. But then on the other side, we're like, this is way too much to sustain and maintain. But we think we're going to sustain and maintain our results. We think it's fine. I can sort of either keep trying to do this, which you're not going to be able to do if it was an extreme thing, or we're going to think, well, no, like I can integrate some old things back in and keep some of the new things. And we're going to think I'm going to keep some of the new things and then old thing and then new thing and then old thing. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days, weeks, months go by, and all of the new things have been phased out. And all of the old things are back in. And we think, what the heck? I just lost all my results. I had such a good thing going. Why couldn't I sustain it? Yeah? And then again, sometimes it's no, I'm going to change my life forever. It's not a 30-day thing. This is forever. So I radically change my diet. I radically change my life. And eventually we slingshot. All the scapegoats, all the numbing, all the self-sabotage comes back. We're in the new country, but then we just start acting in the same ways. We build ourselves the exact same life we just left. We change our relationships, and then we pick all the same people, just in different bodies. Yeah? We think we're going to radically change our diet, and then we end up with all the same symptoms all over again. And we think, what happened? What happened? I guess I need to get back on the extreme thing. I need to restart this program. Or this program is shit. I'm going to start a different one. And we do it over and over and over and over and over again. And 10 years later, we fall off the program again. And we're literally exactly where we were 10 years before. We've done all this yo-yoing. And we've been to our goal 80 times. But we've never been able to maintain it or sustain it. And really, at the end of the day, our homeostasis is still our homeostasis. The way that we think about ourselves is still the same as it was 10 years ago. The ways that our nervous system reacts and responds to life is still the same as it was 10 years ago. We don't have better control over our anger or our whatever it is that we were trying to control. We're not more spiritual. We're not more enlightened. We still react to all the same triggers, all the same ways. We're still treating our bodies basically the same way. We're still pretty much in the same kind of relationships. And we just think, I failed. I suck. What's wrong with me? And again, nothing. You have a normal human nervous system. And you've been tricked by the spirituality, self-help, personal growth world into thinking that transformation is only going to happen if you do something radical. You've been told over and over and over again, right? Look, watch, eat, pray, love. Right? The way that she changed her life was she just left. And she went on this journey and she became a whole new different person. Because she just changed everything. And we see all the before and afters. I used to be like this. And then I radically changed my entire lifestyle. And now I'm this whole other after person. I did this really extreme spiritual thing or this plant medicine journey and it changed my life and now I'm a different person. And we're sold these stories over and over and over again. And generally speaking, we never follow up with these people for longer than 6 months. Because if we did, we would figure out that they all pretty much ended up back where they were. Or then now they're on a cycle of falling back, extreme thing, falling back, extreme thing, falling back, extreme thing. And their life is just this big yo-yo between doing the extreme thing to try to get back on track and get those results back, and falling back into doing what they've always done and feeling how they always felt, and then new extreme thing, and then feeling how they always felt, and there isn't an actual shift that's taking place. It's just this tug of war between white knuckling an extreme thing and going back to what we were always doing, and white knuckling an extreme thing and going back to what we'd always done. Because that is how the nervous system is going to work. Changing our actual homeostasis, to actually change the way we see ourselves, the way we behave, so that it is our new normal, is a completely different process. Because this is what I think people don't really understand that they actually want when they are pursuing transformation. They want a new normal. They want a new homeostasis, so that there isn't effort that needs to be put in to maintain and sustain the new results. That is what we actually want. We want to become the kind of people where it is my natural new way of being to be this new way, to think this new way. Because the reality is, willpower will always fail us. We are never, ever, 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 ever going to have enough willpower to maintain habits. That's not how habits happen. Habits happen because they get our needs met and they become our new set point, our new normal, our new homeostasis. Because we're all going to be something, right? Like we're all going to be existing with our needs, and we're all going to be getting our needs met in some way. So currently, right now, the things you want to change about your life that are painful and harmful are how you're getting your needs met right now. They are how you are attempting to keep yourself safe and to get what you think that you need and to get away from any pain that you understand or don't understand and to try to get any pleasure that you can get. That is why you are doing everything you are doing. You learned somewhere along the way, this is the way to be. This is what you have to do to be safe. And when we want to change that, we first need to do the inner work of understanding why we're doing what we're doing. There is no bad part of you. You have no bad habits. Okay? There may be negative, harmful, toxic results to some of the things that you're doing and some of the ways that you're thinking and some of the ways you perceive yourself. But that is not because you are bad, you are wrong. There is something flawed within you. It's because somewhere along the line you learned this is the best way to get my needs met, to keep myself safe, and to protect myself. Somewhere along the line, every habit you have, everything you are doing became the foundation that you live in. Because it was how you got your needs met, the best you knew how, within the circumstances you were in. And it shaped and formed your perception. Yeah? So that this is how you see the world, this is how you perceive you have to be. Change now feels scary, wrong, and bad. No matter how positive, no matter how different it could be in terms of beneficial, your body and your brain is going to say, no, we're not changing. Because this is the way. This is how we do this. This is how we stay safe. So when we're unaware of why we're doing what we're doing, okay? If you still look at any of your habits or any of your way of being or any of your way of thinking and think this is a bad thing, you don't understand it yet. Okay? I'm putting that as a hard line. If you have shame, blame, guilt about any part of yourself, any habit, you do not understand it. You do not understand how you adapted to do it. You don't understand how you inherited it. You don't understand how it's helping you. And without that awareness, you're never going to be able to develop a new habit that gets the need met the same way without the negative consequences. Because this is one of my favorite concepts that I've talked about for a very long time. We can't become not something. We don't leave vacuums in our lives where we change by just getting rid of a thing. We replace whatever habits we have, whatever ways of being we have right now, whatever coping, numbing, self-sabotage, we replace it with something that gets the need met in the same way, but better. Okay? So we have to start with, why am I doing this? What is the positive benefit? If I were to actually just remove this from my life, what would I lose? What pain would be there that I then don't know how to deal with? Where would I face rejection or not being understood? Where is this how I am suppressing parts of myself that I had to suppress? Where is this how I'm suppressing emotions that I have no other way of processing? These are the kinds of things that we need to look for. This is what the school is all about. This is why we get therapy sometimes if we need that, or we work with a coach, or we do whatever we need to do to help us start to understand why we do what we do, what our habits are, and why they are the way they are. Because there is no part of you that's just trying to hurt you. There's no part of you that's just trying to do something bad. Okay. And then as we start to understand that, how we make actual changes is we take little tiny steps towards getting our needs met in a new, better way. And we take those steps without taking away any of our current behaviors. Okay? In my very first book, I called this the displaced desires behavior in the perception diet, where we start to look at, okay, what is the positive intention in whatever bad eating habits I have or bad thought patterns I have about my body? Like every single time I look in the mirror and I say, you are unacceptable, you are ugly, no one's going to ever love you. What am I really getting out of that? What's the real fear underneath that? What am I scapegoating onto my body that is not actually my body's fault? We start to look underneath what's really going on. What do I really want? What am I actually getting out of this? Because again, right, most of us were not taught how to identify what our real needs are and how to get them met in real reality. We learned to just cope and numb and be codependent and do this way and sneak around that way and all of these things that now we're doing all this weird adaptive stuff instead of just being able to say, I need a hug. I need someone to show up for me right now. I'm afraid that I'm going to die. Like, that's what's really going on. And when we can start to, like, actually unpack that stuff and see that stuff, we're so much more liberated to get our needs met in new and different ways. But that's why we have to do this internal work of why am I doing this? What's really going on here? Okay? And then, like I said, we slowly start to take steps towards new, different things. And we have to understand that in order for the new and different things to become our new normal, so that we don't have to put in a bunch of willpower to be the new, different person, we first have to prove to our bodies and our brains that the new thing works. Like I said, through repetition. We have to do the new thing and figure out, okay, every time I feel like I want to go in the mirror and nitpick my behavior, or nitpick my body, I'm going to ask for a hug, because that's what I really want. I want some validation. I'm feeling unsafe. I'm feeling unloved. I'm feeling like I'm not going to be okay. So I'm going to ask for a hug, or I'm going to validate myself in some way. And that starts to feel good, because that's what we really want. We start to understand, okay, it was never really about making my body perfect. I really just thought if I made my body perfect, then people would naturally hug me. People would naturally validate me. People would naturally give me the things that I want and that I need. So now as an adult, I have to start asking for those things. I have to have self-awareness of what I actually want and what I actually need, and I have to go ask for it. I have to go get it. So then you go and get it. You go get a hug. And it's going to feel good. But the next time you feel shitty about yourself, you're not naturally going to go ask for a hug. You're going to go to the mirror and you're going to start picking at every little thing. And then you're going to be like, wait, nope, okay, I see what this is. This part of me that wants to nitpick my behavior, or my body, sorry, is feeling insecure, and it's trying to help me get my needs met for love and validation through trying to get me to perfect my body. But in real reality, that's not how that's going to work. So thank you for that. But what I actually want, again, is some love and validation. So I'm going to go and ask for that. And you do it again. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. And then one day, after repetition after repetition after repetition, right? I'm going to go nitpick in the mirror. Nope. What's really going on here? I'm going to go nitpick in the mirror. Nope. What's really going on here? Eventually, you're going to start to feel that insecurity, and you're going to be like, I want a hug. Yes. And it's going to become your new normal. It's going to become your new normal to be aware of when you're feeling low and to get that need met in a different, better way. And then you're going to nitpick your body less, because that was a less effective strategy than getting a hug. That's how we change. Slow, steady things that we prove to our bodies over and over and over again work better to get the need met. That we practice over and over and over and over and over and over again until the body finally perceives that the new way works better. Then it will become our new normal. That is how we make radical transformation. We get actually clear on why we're doing what we're doing. We look at the positive intention. We look at all the patterns and all the things that brought us to where we are right now. Okay? And this is why we do that inner child work. This is why we sometimes need therapy. This is why we sometimes have to unpack the whole society and how we're shamed and guilted into doing all these different things. And we go in this long self-discovery journey. Because I guarantee you, all of your habits and the ways that you're doing things right now, none of them are simple. None of them are just there for no reason. None of them are just, oh, okay, I just need this one thing and that's fine. We're all going to go on this journey of deep self-knowledge. How we got hurt, how we got rejected, the parts of ourselves that aren't being expressed, the ways in which society and culture are leading us to lives that don't feel good for us. All of these things are things we're going to have to discover. And then we slowly make changes over time. Little tiny changes, little tiny steps towards better. And we make little tiny steps, one or two at a time, from this place of self-compassion. Right? So long as we're moving from this is a bad thing and I have to get rid of it, we don't understand it. And I'm going to stand by that till the day that I die. When you're not making a change that says, oh, okay, I get it. This is totally innocent in me that I'm doing this. This is not something shameful, wrong, bad, broken about me. This is how I'm getting my needs met. This is how I was trained I had to get my needs met. This comes from trauma. This comes from my family system where this was the only appropriate way to be. I'm afraid of doing something different because I'm afraid if I do something different, I'm going to be rejected and then I'm going to die. And we have to then build that adult perspective that can show us, okay, yeah, you're going to do something different. People might not like it. And then you're going to orient and you're going to see that you're still okay. And you're going to do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You're going to understand what you want and what you need slowly over time, right? So that first thing that you wanted a hug might turn into, okay, well, actually, I want to express myself in this way, which might turn into a new, different job, which might turn into new ways of being in your relationships, which might turn into this one little thread that you start with. You're going to keep going with it. It's not just going to end at asking for a hug. This is the cool thing about this, is you're then going to keep discovering layers about yourself and truths about yourself. From that will lead to another little change That will lead to another little change. That will lead to another little change. And over time, you started with, I nitpicked my body. And then you ended with, and it made me change the way that I do everything. One little step at a time. By just following, okay, so now, like I said, maybe the hug isn't so satisfying. Because what now I really want is to say my truth a little bit. So you start to say your truth more often, which then changes the dynamics of your relationships. Yeah, now every time you feel that insecurity, you're like, okay, it's because I'm not saying something. It's because I'm not expressing myself the way that I want to. And you're going to watch as you grow and you transform, as you just continue to honor these little steps, like I said. And so eventually you get to this whole new different place because you just took these little baby tiny steps. You just followed the new bit of awareness. You kept honoring, there's nothing wrong with me, so what's really going on here? And it's going to lead you to deeper and deeper and deeper understandings about yourself, deeper and deeper truths. Your next step, because that's going to be what it is. Okay? This journey is going to be a journey of steps, and you will figure out those steps one at a time. You're going to keep repeating the new thing until you start to get a deeper awareness. And as long as you're continuing to practice your self-awareness tools, and again, there's lots of them in the mystery school, there's lots of them on my YouTube channel, emotional mastery, checking in with your emotions, doing stream of consciousness writing, all of these things. You keep on with your awareness, it should continue to help you figure out steps in your life that make things better for you, that make things better for everyone around you. And eventually it leads to this radical transformation. And your nervous system will get on board because you're showing yourself different results that are just different enough from your current homeostasis that it doesn't have to slingshot you way back to what you were doing before. So this is why slow steps work the best. When we take ourselves just a little bit outside of our comfort zone, there's enough space to prove to ourselves that the new thing is going to work, so that it becomes our new comfort zone. That's what we want. We want the new thing that we're doing to become our new comfort zone. So we only want to take ourselves out of our comfort zone enough that we can sustain and maintain what we're doing enough to get those good results enough times that the nervous system and the body say, okay, this is safe. When we're doing something radical, I want you to think there's that part of you that's letting you do the new thing. It's like sitting inside of you and it's like, fine, you're going to do this 90-day challenge. You're going to do this fast. You're going to, okay, fine, do it. But I'm going to be sitting here panicking the entire time. And as soon as you're done, I'm slingshotting you back to what we were doing before. That I want you to think that's what that person is, that's what that part of you is doing. It will let you do the 90 days, but it will not perceive that it's safe. It will not perceive any of the good benefits that you get. Like, think of it like that. It's sitting there like this, and it's not going to look, and it's not going to perceive anything good, and it's just waiting for you to finish so it can slingshot you back. You have to convince that part of you that the new way works better. And the only way you're going to convince that part is if you take it by the hand and say, okay, we're just going to do a little thing. Look at the little thing. Look at the little thing. Look at the little thing. Look. And then eventually that part will say, fine, okay, we can do that. You've proven to me that it works enough. We don't have to go back to the old thing because this way works better. Yeah, that's fine. But that's it. And then that's what it's going to say to you. That's it. We're not doing it anymore. And you say, okay, well, maybe let's just take this one other little step. And it's going to be like, fuck you, no, we're not doing it. And you'll be like, okay, but look. And it will finally see it and we'll be like, okay, fine. New normal. That's how we do it. This part that was trying to keep you safe will let you do the extreme thing, but it will not perceive that it's safe. It will not perceive that it's okay. It will look for all the threats, and it's going to eventually slingshot you back to what you were doing before. If you do little steps and you keep proving to this part of yourself that the little steps work, it will adopt it as your new normal, and then you don't have to put in effort to be this new person because it's your new normal. It's your new homeostasis. It was just different enough that you could do it enough times to prove to this part of yourself that it's safe, that it works better, and then it's your new homeostasis. And that is how we make changes. New homeostasis, new homeostasis, new homeostasis, new homeostasis with little steps. That's how the nervous system works. Everything else is just going against how our nervous systems work, and we are just going to slingshot ourselves back into what we've always been doing. So there's nothing wrong with you. That part of you that slingshots you back is trying to keep you safe. So how do we work with that part? Little steps. Little steps that we prove work over and over and over again. While we continue doing the old thing, usually we do both until the new thing proves itself to be more effective, and that's when your body will let you do it. It will become your new normal, and then you do that now for your new normal. And then you're not putting in effort. It's who you are now. Okay? So yeah, come join the school. Come work with me one-on-one. If you want more like this, get therapy, read other books, read other people, watch my YouTube channel, read my blogs. There's lots of resources out there. I'm not the only one. This is just what I have to offer. So yes, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. And I will see you next week. Mwah! Bye.